Hi.
Oh,
Hello.
it's like the same face is back again. It's like we got to quit meeting like this, apparently.
Yeah.
Talking some animal communication and animal energy healing. And Chris, I feel like you're the local authority on this topic here in the Cleveland area. Um,
I wouldn't say that, but I've definitely had my fair share of being around them, with them, and amongst them for, I don't even want to tell you how old I am. We won't go there.
it's like ever since as a child, like we've always had at least one pet, and I currently, have, a pet. And, I will say, there's a part of me when my Sithers crosses that bridge, as much as I love him, there's a little part of me that's like, I might take a break, and just like not be in charge of something small that needs my attention and my care. Um, but I'm sure at some point, I would eventually get another one. And I've kind of often said like I would get like a senior like cat,
Mhm.
that you'll adopt because they're older. And I'm like, oh, come chill on the couch with me.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. I go through the same thing, and I have 5 dogs. I'm down to 5.
Okay.
Well, how
um,
many horses?
I have 4. So
Okay.
2 of them I don't consider like 2 of them are little, so they're like quarters of a horse. They're miniatures, so
Aw.
they're they're small. One is 32 inches tall, and the other one's about 38 inches tall. So they're
Oh.
just a fraction of the size of the other 2.
Oh.
I always say I have too big, too little.
They're almost pocket size for a horse standard, right?
Just about, yeah, yeah. Rooster's about 200 pounds, so he's the littlest man on campus around here, and he's quite comical. He's also the oldest, so miniature
Mm.
horses tend to live very long lives, and some of them live up into their 40s. And Rooster, I think he is between 25 and 30 years old. And you would never in a million years think that he was that old. He's as ornery can be, and full of it, and he's a great little guy.
Well, Maria, you have a kitty cat or two running around.
3.
She's like,
Seems like
actually,
no problem.
3. One of them is a boy, and he's really, really bad. He gets his tendency of being mischievous.
Boy cats typically are, but they tend to be more, I think they make better, I don't want to say better. They're a little bit more clingy than girls are, I think. Girls are
Hmm.
definitely more opinionated and standoffish, and have to they oversee the area and tell you how it is and what they think about it.
Yeah, in the morning when a cat is scolding you because you're a little too late giving them their food.
Yes, 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 I know that song all too well. The 5 a.m. feed me
Yeah.
song.
Yep.
well, Chris, how did you get into like animal communication? Like, when did you finally like realize that it's like, no, that's really them talking to me and not me, creating in my imagination a conversation that we would be having?
um So I have had, just to put it in perspective a little bit, I have had animals since I was born. I've had dogs and cats and horses and chickens and pigeons and goats and you name it. I had a pet skunk at one time. Um,
Oh,
and growing up around those energies and I was also an only child. So I didn't have brothers and sisters to play with. So they were my friends and my companions and imaginary friends. And I've talked to them all since I can remember. And I have always had this, like they all have their own voices. Every animal around here that has a name has their own voice interpreted through me. So it it was probably about 10 years ago. Um, I started, and I want to say it was after I've got a horse. Her name's Rainy. I got her as a 2-year-old, and she's now 16. Actually, she just turned 16, and I really think it was her that made me realize that, wait a minute, I can feel what's going on with her. Um, we have had a few health issues with her feet. And I also had an incident about 6, 7 years ago now with her getting ulcers. And when the ulcer thing came on, is when I really, really knew that when the vet came out, I'm like, she's got ulcers. She's there's something going on in her esophagus. There's something going on like below her stomach. She's got something going on. And lo and behold, I was right. She had ulcers. And just this feeling that I had and thinking back about how I felt when she got sick, and learning what I've learned, what I know now, I'm like, I was really doing that. I have been doing this. And I want to say it's been about 5 years ago now. I took an animal communication class. I had somebody tell me one time, I think it was my other half, said to me one time, she's like, you should really learn how to communicate with animals. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to feel like Dr. Doolittle and have all these critters just talking to me and yelling at me in my head, because that's what I associated that with. I associated it with a back and forth conversation like you and I would have. And that is not it at all. And once I learned everything, what was actually transpiring, and the light bulbs started going off of, oh, these feelings I get, these visions I see, that is how I am communicating with them. And the best way for me to explain this, I like to use this analogy, is if you ever watch a herd of horses moving around out in a field, and you can see one of them pick their head up, move forward, put their ears down, and start moving their way through the herd, and the herd starts moving in certain specific directions. And they are communicating with one another. Some of it is through their facial cues, and the way they position their ears, but a lot of it is telepathy, and they're telling the other animal, "You go over there. You go over there. I want to be right here." And you can see this happening as you watch a herd of horses move around in the field. And that is probably the most visual way that I can explain how telecommunication works between animals. And they all do it. I see my dogs doing it. I see my dogs playing together, and one of them grabbing a toy and the other one looking and going, I'm going to get that toy from you, and go straight over and grab the toy from the other dog. And it's not the intention of I'm moving to take the toy, you can see it in their face, and I can feel it, and I know, oh, Bella's going to go and take that teddy bear away from Miles. I know that's going to happen. So a lot of it's telepathy and making that realization and thinking about, as I was a kid, having these connections to animals and working with them and being with them and understanding they don't feel good, they're sad, they need something, they want something, and putting those pieces together, it's like, oh yeah, you have been doing this since you were a little kid, since I can remember. So it's pretty darn cool. Um, and that is something that, it's not just a me thing. All of us can do this. All of us have the ability to do this. And it's kind of like when you're using that analogy with mediumship, e- and saying, everybody can be a medium, everybody can be a psychic, or everybody can play the piano, but not everybody's going to be a concert pianist. Not everybody is going to be a professional medium or professional psychic. It's how you, what your heart's into, and part of what you're naturally able to do to make that task easy for you. And as humans, we gravitate to things that we are good at, and that we are getting kind of that energy exchange of validating, I'm doing something good, I'm doing something right. Um, so that's probably a long-winded answer to that question, but and I probably answered more questions in one in two, but essentially, yes.
Yeah, you went right into one of the next
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, yeah. That's good, and that's good. I do want to ask you one particular thing. So, when you feel the energy of the animals, when they're communicating with you, do they tell you what they need, or do you just put the piece together?
Typically, like when I'm going to do a reading for somebody, I I always, first and foremost, you always have to ask the animal for permission, and it's you have to kind of befriend them and let them know you're not communicating with them like mom and dad. Mom and dad don't, most people don't think they can do this, so they don't even try. So it kind of sets them back a little bit. They're like, wait a minute, you understand what I'm thinking here. And once you get past that, I start getting visualizations of what has happened to them in their past. And then I go into having feelings of what is going on with them, if they have an illness, if something hurts, their emotions, if something's not right. And being able to feel into those particular things, the emotions, the visions, I can then tell pet parent, your dog has had a situation that they were abused, and they are severely afraid of large men with long hair. I can usually get down to that much of a detail. So, and then they go, oh, yeah, my friend George, he comes over, he's got a mullet, and my dog is terrified of him. And I tell them, if George is a good friend of yours and he's coming over a lot, ask George to bring a t-shirt that he has worn around all day and leave it in your house. So your dog can get used to the smell of George and it being comfortable at home. So when he comes over, he's used to that smell and doesn't perceive George as a threat. And tell George he needs to make himself smaller until your dog gets used to his energy, because they have more of a sense of energy and what that imprint of that energy was versus a facial recognition. There's only a few animals that have the ability to perceive faces like we do. Horses can do it, elephants can do it. There's a handful of others that can do it, but not chimpanzees can do it. Dogs, cats, they're perceiving an energy of something. So they're feeling that large energy. Smells can set it off. And working through a situation like the example that I gave will help fix what the issue is. So do I get an immediate, this is scaring me, I want this to happen? No, it's more of a sense of breaking it down and then coming up with a solution to solve it.
Okay. Okay. Um, Cats have a tendency to, and I know this with my dogs when I had dogs. They have a tendency to take on whatever incident is going on, if there's an argument, a disagreement, and I feel them taking it on. And that's when I have to stop and I have to either take them outside in the yard or let them run around just to get them away from that stress energy. So they feel stress just like we do, and they go through traumas, since you brought up the trauma, just like humans does, but they can't tell us. You're able to sense it, you're able to piece it, but they can't outright say, I don't like him because he scares me.
Right. It's not
Yeah.
a literal conversation like you and I have. It's more of a sensing, sensing their energy field and getting flashes of things that they show me that have traumatized them and that have put a negative on them about how they feel about certain energies and certain places and smells and sounds. That's why you'll see some dogs are very triggered by lightning and thunder and banging noises. Some cats are the same way. They don't like thunderstorms, and that can be because there was something traumatic that happened to them and that really scared them during a thunderstorm. So that whole energy that is going on when a thunderstorm is about to happen, or when that lightning cracks, they get brought back to that memory of whatever traumatized them during that storm, or that storm that happened, or that noise that happened in their past. They tend to, people say, oh, that's a dog, it's a cat, it's just an animal. They don't remember things like that, or they don't have feelings like we do. And yes, they do. They have very good memories. They have the ability to recognize things. They have the ability to, their senses are so much more acute than ours are, because they rely on them to survive, unlike we can sit and talk to each other and argue with each other and disagree about things. They run on their emotions, anxieties, fears, sight, smell. That's how they navigate the world. And if you don't, if you can't unravel that, it's really hard to correct a behavior.
Okay.
So if somebody is wanting to get into, communicating with their pet, should they like expect to hear a little voice, get mental images, feelings, or just kind of like a cognitive knowing?
It is that gut feeling, that knowing, and it depends a lot on the person. It's kind of like when we are developing some kind of intuitive ability. If your strength is being clairvoyant and being able to see things very easily, that's going to be how you're going to lean into seeing what's going on with your pet. So what you would do is you would sit quietly with your pet and almost in a meditative state, and visualize them and you together, and then visualize an activity with them. And once you have gotten, you can feel into that, and you can get out of your mind of going, am I making this up? You'll start trusting yourself and realizing, okay, I'm starting to see things, and I can send them images of things to help ease this situation. If it happens to be a fear or anxiety, like a dog with separation anxiety, for example, and you're using a visualization process, you would, before you leave your house, you would sit quietly with that dog, and you would visualize yourself coming home. You don't want to visualize yourself leaving, because that's what they're afraid of. You want to visualize something positive that they are going to see as comfort, or housebreaking. You're not gonna get the puppy and take them into the middle of the living room floor where they just had an accident and stick their nose in it and tell them no. You're going to get the puppy, and you're going to visualize and take them outside and say, good puppy. So they don't learn. It's kind of like, even going back to the whole Pavlovian training process. You want to give good behaviors. You want to show them good behaviors, whether it's mentally or in physical. That's how they're going to understand things. If you are more of it, if you're not clairvoyant and you're not good at visualizing things, having that feeling of positivity and having that conversation in your head of, this is a lot of fun, we're going to do this activity, versus I'm leaving the house and I'm not going to be home for 3 hours. So you have to spin everything into a positive, whether it's a verbal conversation you're having out loud in your head, something you are trying to visualize, or a sound that you are trying to utilize.
Mm. I did something kind of like that when my cat, he was diagnosed diabetic last year, and for like the first 3-4 months, like the minute he would see me go into the kitchen and grab the vial, oh, he took off. So I would have to 5-10 minutes, like casually walk around the apartment, closing doors, to kind of like corral him. And finally, it was just like kneeling down on the floor with him and just trying to let him know, like, this is to help you and you feel better after. And like, he literally, like, if he sees me coming with the syringe, no matter what he's doing, he'll just immediately like sit and, take it and go. But, then I was frustrated with myself that it took that long to come up with that idea, hoping that it would work and make him less stressed about it. Cause we, doing it twice a day. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like this 20-minute process now to give, a quick insulin shot. But, it took a couple days, I guess. Cause I'm sure he's like, I don't trust you with that Sharpie pokey thing, know?
Yep. When did you grow nails, Mom?
Earlier today, I was able to go back and get and I'm like, ooh, I feel whole again. But darn it, I have to relearn to type because, of not having them for a couple months. And I'm like, ooh, I can touch things. I can pick it up easy. Now I have to learn
all over again. Yeah. So my guess is, when you first started giving him his insulin shots, you're looking around for the insulin bottle. So you're probably visualizing where I put the insulin bottle, and then you're visualizing where are the needles and pulling that out, and you have this mental image of the insulin bottle and the needle, and you're like, here, kitty, 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 kitty. So he's like, no, I know what that means. I'm gonna get poked. So letting go of that and thinking about, oh, I'm opening up a can of your favorite cat food, or I have a couple of your favorite treats, or I'm going to give you scratches in your favorite spot, thinking about those things while you're trying to catch him.
Yeah. It took a little bit, but, it was like, come on, it's to feel better, and, loves and kisses, because I feel just as bad doing this as you having to get it, and I wish we didn't have to.
Yeah.
But now he's just like, okay, are we done? Okay, let me go back to what I was doing. I'm like, good boy.
Yeah.
but it, with, as you were saying that, I'm like, oh, I kind of did that, in a way to get him to quit, like making me chase him for 20 minutes, and then trying not to give that energy of the chase, like I'm hunting you now and you're in danger from me, like, because
Right.
that's how he was feeling. And
Right.
oh no, buddy, I'm trying to help you and keep you alive.
So right there, you were feeling his energy of what he thought you were gonna do. You
Mhm.
were feeling into that and realized, oh, he thinks I am stalking him like he would stalk a mouse. So
Mhm.
I've got to change my energy, and you recognize that and changed it.
Yeah, now it's like, come on, bud, this is quick, and we're gonna go have fun afterwards. You want one of those little tubey treats because you love those? Let's do it. And they're diabetic safe. But I will say, like, I don't hear it from him. It's more of a feeling
Mhm.
that I get with him. Like, I know here this month he's like very lonely and upset that I'm gone so much from all of the shows that I've been doing in the late hours, and I feel bad for that. So I try, like, when I am home, I'm like, come on, you and I, while we're in the house, I'll break my rule of no kitty cats in the bed. You can chill in here just so you can be near me because I know you're missing that.
Yeah.
But it's more of a feeling between he and I, and I've not tried to do that with other people's animals. It's just kind of like, let me pet them if I can, and then, because, so here's maybe an ethics question: is it overstepping to communicate with somebody else's animal? If
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
personal space. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to have that permission, just like you do doing any other intuitive type of work. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you are if you're driving down the road and there's a dog that's running and panicking down the highway and you're trying to coax him into your car, that's a whole different story.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you are, your neighbor's dog is barking and driving you insane.
Can you send the shut up energy over?
um, 9 times out of 10, it's a behavioral issue that their parents are causing, and
Mhm.
not really something that they're doing. So, you know, approaching the pet parent first and saying, "Hey, I noticed your dog is barking a lot. I I might have some ideas for you to help, calm it down. I think it's having a little anxiety. Would it be okay if I work with your dog a little bit?"
Hmm.
And approach it kind of that way versus, "Okay, little dog."
Well, it's funny that you say that because one of my neighbors, and I'm like, I know they crate the dog. Why? Because I can hear it scraping in the crate all day as
Oh,
it's barking, and I feel bad for him because I feel the anxiety of like being home alone and everything. But I'm like, after 4 hours, I'm like, oh, dude, just take a nap.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
sleep it
yeah,
off, buddy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
like, let me turn my true crime show up a little louder. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Sounds like your neighbor's dog needs a little more exercise.
yeah, and I feel bad. The really pretty black floofy, thing. I haven't gotten really close enough to really see, because I'm allergic to dogs, and
Oh, wow.
when she's had him off leash outside, and you know how every pet parent, a lot of times dog parents will be like, they're so good they don't need to be, and I'm like, I'm usually that one that they will break that rule, like they want to come say hi, they want to rush over, and of course
Yeah.
he did, and he or she got up, and I was like, hi buddy. And she came up and, like, grabbed him by the collar and walked him. And then, like, her boyfriend showed up. As soon as he opened up the car door, this pit came charging over and, like, stuck its face, like, on my lap. And I'm like, sit here, be cool. And the whole time he was running over, he was trying to recall him. And I'm like, I am always that one
Yeah.
that, they never disobey. And I'm like, because I hasn't been around apparently, because here we come. But yeah, thankfully that didn't turn into anything more than just some eye contact. And it's like, I see you, I'm going to be still and I'm going to look away so that doesn't come off as aggression.
Yep.
You're a pit and that's going to hurt. And
yep.
You know,
yeah, maintaining that no eye contact is really important when you, especially when you're dealing with larger breed dogs that have the ability to be aggressive. Pit bulls are actually, I own a pit bull. And they're very sweet dogs if they're raised right, and they understand an authority figure. And an authority figure isn't somebody who's going to dominate them. That is somebody who's going to perceive their energy to be bigger than them. So if you are like, mine is like, she's just a total sweetheart, but she, will get a little too rambunctious with the pugs, or she'll get snotty with one of the female pugs that she gets jealous of. And I just have to raise my voice a little bit. And she's like, I'm in trouble. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So she knows, that she overstepped her bounds. And even the pugs are a little harder because pugs are a whole little creature of their own.
Do you think they're just grumpy and disgruntled because they can't breathe properly, and they're just like, I'm grumpy all the time and I'm not listening today? Because
I think they're like having gnomes.
I can see that.
If you ever wanted to have a gnome for a pet, get a pug. They're tricky, they're grumpy. They're very funny, but sometimes that funny part of them is there to trick you.
My brother had a pug named Princess for the longest time. He was so heartbroken when she passed, but she was a fun little character.
Yeah, they're something. They're little clowns. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Do you find certain like breeds or types of animals communicate more in certain methods than others? Like, are cats more of a feeling? Are dogs more of like the mental pictures? Or
that's actually a really good question. I never thought about it that way, but now dogs tend to be very emotional. And I feel a lot of happy or sad. I feel a lot of anxiety. And I get a lot more visuals from dogs. With cats, it's more of their overall attitude about things. And I do get a lot of visualization with cats too, with what they like and what they don't like. Dogs, their emotions seem to be higher and lower, if that makes sense. Like if they're happy, they see. Cats are a little bit more even keeled and sometimes a little harder to figure out. And so I've done readings for a couple of geckos. They're funny.
I was just going to ask you, like, what is the most unique type of pet? And I think you just won the game.
Hermit crab. A hermit
crab. Okay.
Yes, hermit crab was probably the most unique one. I've done birds and reptiles, and somebody threatened to bring a rat in to get a reading, and I didn't. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And I had a really traumatizing experience with rats when I was little that is carried over into my adulthood. And I am not sure. I did a photo reading of the mouse or the rat, and I was fine with it. But being in person with and having to handle one, maybe I don't know how I would react to that.
I mean, when I was a teen, we had a pet rat named Herschel that we inherited. I was living in Germany at the time, and my friend, her father got new orders. They were leaving the country and couldn't take or the parents just didn't want to deal with like trying to move a rat overseas, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I inherited Herschel, and he was a cool little guy. Like he'd sit on my shoulder, listen to music, and he would like bob his head, and
Oh my gosh.
he was a
They're
cool little
very
guy.
smart. They're super, super smart little creatures. Um, we just had some really yucky ones in New Mexico that were, oh gosh, they were huge. I mean, their bodies like
Mm.
and long, like their pinky, their tails were like this big around. I mean, they were just like, oh.
That's what are they called in The Princess Bride? The giant swamp rat things, and he's like, I don't believe they exist, and you
um,
what are
tool around the South Valley in Albuquerque. I'm sure he'll find.
Go to the subways in New York City. You will find them.
Oh
oh
yeah,
They're huge. They're
yeah.
huge.
These are the same kind, like those sewer rats. Yeah, these live in the. They have. It doesn't rain there like it does here, and there's a lot of drainage ditches. They let the mountain runoff fill up the canals and stuff, and that's what the farmers use to water. Well, the drainage ditches is where everything lives that is icky because big bugs, big rats. Yeah. But yeah, the geckos were quite the gecko and a bearded dragon. I've done a reading for. They were quite a lot of fun. Parrots are fun too because they have so much personality and they can talk. So
Mhm.
them, I do get a little bit of verbalization from them because they can talk, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, those are neat. The birds that can talk, those
Yeah,
are neat.
yeah.
One of my aunts had a minor bird, and she knew how to answer the phone. She was really trained well. Yeah, she was a hoot. I just loved her.
I had a neighbor years and years and years ago when I was renting this duplex, and this was in New Mexico, and she had an African gray parrot, and the neighbor behind me had a schnauzer. Well, the neighbor behind me used to leave her schnauzer outside all the time, and the lady next door to me used to leave her back door open all the time, and her African gray learned how to bark like the schnauzer. And she was accusing me of leaving my dog locked up in the backyard all the time, and that's how her bird learned how to bark. And I heard the bird bark, and I go, "That's a not a pug. That's a schnauzer. That would be the lady back there."
did her schnauzer sound like a Ewok or a Wookiee?
Yeah, that
Oh,
scratchy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
oh,
I love
I
that.
didn't know that. I
Yeah.
did not know that.
yeah.
Before I found out that, the reason why I always had headaches and everything was because I was allergic to dogs, I had too many schnauzers. And Shotzi, the girl, she always sounded like a Wookiee. And she was so fun.
Yeah.
Um, and then Monster, the all white, his name was Abominable Monster. We called him Monster. Um, he had more of the traditional like dog bark, and he was the grumpy old man that would bark at anybody that got near the house. And he's like, "Get off my grass!" And I'm like, "They're not even on our yard. Be quiet. Sit down." You know. Um, and I'm like, "Why can't you do the cool Wookiee noises like Shotzi? Like that would be less irritating, to hear." But yeah, I was like, "Oh, do all schnauzers, have the ability to sound like Star Wars Wookiees?" Because that was pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of a typical schnauzer kind of sound. Pugs have this like it's not like a woof, it's more of a woo woo woo. Like there's like it's not coming out all the way, and then it's a lot of snot flying.
um, let's see. How does an animal's spirit or consciousness differ from like a human's?
They are very they vibrate a lot higher than we do.
Mm.
They have they don't have the baggage, the day-to-day baggage that we do with I need to do this. I should have done that. I'm mad about this. I forgot to do that. Theirs is more pure of, it's more love. I mean, that's all they really know is, I am loved or I'm seeking it. Um, so their energy, it's, for me, it's easier to connect with,
Mm.
because there's no pretenses to it. You're not trying to out a lot of the baggage that you do with humans. So all animals are much higher vibrating creatures than us humans are. And they tend to see things a lot better than we do too. As far as, your cat sitting in the corner looking at something, and you're like, "What are you staring at over there, buddy?" And grandma's visiting, you know.
Mhm.
Um, they're much more sensitive that way.
It's like the ghost that's flipping you off. That's what I'm looking at. Like,
Exactly.
good job, little guard, animal. Keep that angry ghost in the corner, why don't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of our friends listening would like to ask if animals can communicate with us even after they have passed away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say my readings that I do for people is pretty much 50-50 with people who are looking to connect with their pet that they lost, versus the one that they just adopted and they're trying to work through an issue with. And I think our pets, they they stay around us. They do cross over to what most of us kind of refer to as the Rainbow Bridge. Um,
Mhm.
but they have the ability to come back and stay with us. And there's so many times I can, um, say that, your dog's still around you, and you're seeing like this dent. Even though you fluff the pillow on the back of the couch, it keeps going back to the dent where your dog used to lay. And they're like, yes. Or you're feeling a dent in the bed where your dog likes to sleep, and you just made your bed. Or you hear them run around on your kitchen floor, and you distinctively hear their nails hitting the floor. Yeah, so they do stay around us. They come and they visit us, and they definitely go and hang out with our loved ones on the other side. But they do come back and regularly visit with us and let us know they're still around.
Aw, except now, um, you don't have to clean the litter box. You don't have to let them out. It's not
Yeah.
saying that's the way to go, but is, I'll keep cleaning Sither's box as long as he's good and healthy and hanging on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, have you had a reading with a pet that had like a huge transformation for the owner?
Um, I have had I've done a lot of readings for people who have adopted dogs that they've had problems with, and they have certain behaviors that they're not trying to figure out. And this one in particular that I can recall, um, this dog was very, very, very shut down. She was a ex puppy mill dog,
Mm.
and she probably hadn't seen but more than a handful of people before she was taken out of the situation that she was in. And getting the information from this dog about how scared they were and how unfamiliar they were, and all they were used to seeing were other dogs in cages and not experiencing the outside world, it overwhelmed them. And this particular incident, the vet wanted to keep them on anxiety medication. And this dog was basically just so doped up all the time that they didn't they couldn't react to anything. So being able to explain that this dog is terrified because it's never been exposed to these things, and to do this exposure process in very small doses in controlled environments and inviting people in to help socialize her. It took several months, but I did get some feedback from the person. Actually, she was at Wagner's, and gave me the feedback of, they started working with this dog, and it got to a point where they actually were able to take the dog to an obedience class. It got brave enough to go into, and even though it was an adult, and went into a puppy class, and to get the exposure around these other dogs and around people, it really started coming out of its shell. So I love hearing stuff like that, because there's so many dogs out there. I have two right now that were one was from a hoarding situation, and one was from a puppy mill situation. And both of them, you come over to the house, you would never know that. They would never know that they weren't around people, because they get socialized and exposed to people, and I tell them it's okay, and they trust me. So as long as the owner of the pet can really, in their heart, believe, I am taking care of you, I love you, and I'm protecting you, they do understand that, and they do trust you. You can't overwhelm them in the training process of exposing them to things.
Mm. Well, I'm glad they were able to help, rescue, give a home to
Yeah.
that puppers. I mean, that's a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Now here's something we talked a little bit about before we went live, and you're like, I have opinions. Do animals take on their owners' emotions or illnesses?
Yes. Yes and no. So emotions, yes, in big, big, big ways. They are mirrors of us. So if we're anxiety ridden, if we're neurotic, if we're bipolar, your dog does pick up and feel those energies. I had a client several months ago who came to me and told me about these problems with her dog, and that her dog was displaying all of these kind of neurotic behaviors. And I gave her some information on how to try to help that, and what to focus on, and how to focus herself more. And I was just getting this weird feeling about where this was coming from. Well, a few weeks later, I get another phone call again. Nothing's working. Nothing's working. And she was upset about it. And so I switched the focus from the dog to her, and kind of started doing almost a little energy reading, life coaching session with her. Well, come to find out, this woman was very, very bipolar. And she had this inconsistency with how she was treating her dog. So she would be really nice and lovable, and I love you, and you're great, and then the next minute, if something set her off and she was in one of her manic modes, the dog's acting terrified, and the dog's acting manic as well. So the dog was definitely mirroring the behavior that she was putting off. That was a difficult conversation to have with her, that I had to basically say, I think you need some, I think you need some other assistance that I can't really help you with. But I think you going through some coaching sessions with a professional is going to help you, and it's going to help your dog a lot. And if you get to a point you have questions after that, I'd be happy to help you with it. But that was one of the more touchy situations and it was all based on, it was the dog's fault until I figured out it wasn't the dog's fault. It was the owner's fault. Illnesses, I wouldn't say that if, and this is just a drastic example I'm using, I wouldn't say if I got cancer that my dog's going to get cancer. But if I got cancer and I was really, really sick, the stress I am putting out and the stress that's coming off of me because of my illness can put enough stress on the pet for them to have their own type of illness. So not a one for one, but yes. And they are susceptible to being under too much stress and pressure and having ailments just like we are. Um, so I really believe that in order to keep that balance and the same kind of self-care you would do with, stress relieving, practicing meditation. Obviously your dog's not going to meditate because they don't know how to do that. But these kind of practices that you have yourself in, and then turning around and doing some kind of energy work on that pet is going to help them immensely. So doing Reiki on them, if you have some kind of shamanic practice that you do that on them, and that's gonna help their overall health in general, stress relieving, and their vitality as well.
So I've got what is probably a very hot take question then. I have heard many, many people say that when they're feeling, overwhelmed and stressed or just whatever, some sort of negative upsetting to them, that they love being around their pet and it makes them feel better. And my first thought is always, you are draining the poor pet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
is that, have you seen that? Is my theory completely wrong? And could that
No,
be
I
why
think
your animal's getting sick if you're feeling,
yes, yes. Therapy pets are wonderful, but therapy pets really are victims of needing to have some kind of clearing and energy work done on them and some kind of stress relief for themselves. Yes, they have all this love to give. Yes, they want to help their human and make their human as happy as possible. And them seeing their human happy, they're getting fed back positive energy. But if that human is doing nothing but grieving and groveling and holding that pet and not giving back that, oh, I'm getting this release and I feel better and I love you and I'm going to give this energy back to you, then yes, it's going to have an adverse effect on them. Absolutely.
um, yeah, that was just kind of like you hear, I go home and I've had a shitty day and I just sit there and I love on my pet and I'm like, but are you siphoning your poor pet to make yourself feel better? Like, should you have taken a longer drive home and let that go before you walked in the door?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And
Yeah.
instead of dumping that on your pet or draining it from them.
Right. Or
Um,
are you going home and loving on your pet and then going, okay, buddy, let's go to the park. Let's go do something fun. Let's go get my energy out and let you release some energy. Let's go do something fun together. If that's the practice, then that's great. But if you're just going home and sitting on the couch and holding onto your dog and crying into their shoulder, and not coming back around and giving them positive energy back, then yes, you're doing a bad energy dump on them. Yeah.
mhm.
And we all know what that feels like, just cohabitating with somebody, or even like Melissa, you being in a retail space all the time and somebody coming in and they're like, oh, you have what I want. And then they leave. But they didn't go, oh, thank you so much. Do you know how much better my day's now? Then you're like, oh yeah, I made your day. You're feeling that gratitude back. It's kind of the same kind of sense of feeling with them.
Right. It's like, yay, now that you dumped out, let's joke about it. Let's clear
Right.
that away for the next person behind you, not walking in your what's his name? Linus from Peanuts, who had the dirt
Yes.
cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
woe is me.
and I'm
Yep. Yep.
like, gotta go clean that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
Yes.
I have another question on the tail end of that. Okay, dogs, you can take them out, be out in nature. Mother Nature is such healing energy. Their paws are on the ground. Indoor cats is a little bit difficult if you don't have a background in energy work. What can
Mhm.
a person do to help their kitties?
So, in order to help, I hate to point it back in this direction, but in order to help their kitties, they need to help themselves too. And to be able to bring that positive energy into the house and into, because I mean, most people, not all people, I'm guilty of it. My cats do get to go outside, but I live on a 5 acre farm out in the middle of Amish country. So it's not as dangerous as somebody living in the city.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not keeping yourself grounded and keeping your energetic health up, you are bringing that back into your pets, and you need to be mindful of that, and you need to make sure to stay in that healthy, positive state and spend some good, positive, healthy time with them. You know, get them some toys that they really enjoy. If they love getting some catnip, if they love having a window that they can see out and watch nature themselves in a safe space, that's always a really good thing for them. Those little ledges that you can put up on the wall where they kind of like have the little steps so they can get up high and pretend like they're in a tree, things like that are great for them. So mimic nature, do something to make them feel like they're a part of the great outdoors, but yet keep them safe.
Yeah, Sith always thinks he wants out, and a couple times that he's snuck outside, the minute he gets out there, he's like, "Oh shit!" I scoop him up. I'm like, "Get back in there!
Right, right, right.
You thought you wanted out here."
I had one like that. Her name was Phoebe, and I lost her about 2 years ago. And she was a rescue that got dumped off at a horse boarding barn, and she was probably only about 4 weeks old. Had to bottle feed her. She wasn't old enough to be. Then ended up with a terrible ear infection. She was just a hot mess until she was a year old. And
Mm.
this was the cat that, okay, I'm taking it home from the barn, nursing it back to health, and it's going. But she ended up having so many health problems that she was literally a grown cat before I got her healthy again. And I think she had dwarfism. She had these little short, little
Oh,
tiny, squatty legs and kind of a normalish sized body. And she got out one night, and this is when I was living in Maple Heights. And she got out one night and she was gone for a week. And I'm like, well, Phoebe got out, something got her, couldn't find her, looked all over the place for her for days. And a week later, a lot thinner and bunch of pine tar all over her, she comes home, and she, I think, had fallen out of a tree. I think she shimmied her little butt up a tree. After that, she never went outside again. A couple times she scooted out the door a little bit, and it was, I'm not an outside cat, and back into the house. That was all she needed of the great outdoors, and she just decided, nope, I'm an inside cat. And
I
she
came,
still
I
hangs around.
saw.
I Yes, and she's still in the house. You move a chair in the dining room, you move a chair out of the way, and she used to love to sleep in the chairs in there. And you go to pick it up and move it, and it's heavy as a brick. You would think that she was in there, and
Hmm.
she still sleeps in the chairs. And like, Phoebes, get your fat little butt out of the chair.
Onto the floor with you. Come on.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've gotten this question a lot. Um, Rosie asks, I had to put two of my dogs down. It's been a few years. Do you think that they're upset with me?
So, absolutely not. Um, like I was saying earlier, they don't have that baggage, that human baggage that we have. They don't have the guilt, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, um, that we do. They only know the unconditional love that we gave them. And when we have to make those decisions, and I've had to make it several times, um, I could show you guys my little all my critters. There's quite a few of them right on the other side of this computer. um, they, time and time again, what I what I am seeing is when we make those decisions, we make them for them from our heart. And it's to let them go with dignity. It's to let them go and give them something that, unfortunately, when we get really, really ill, we can't give to ourselves. It's not legal. But with them, it's they appreciate not being in pain. They appreciate, being free of the circumstances, the elderly body, the illnesses, whatever the situation may have been. And I have never, and this is the same with, mediumship, is when we get those messages from our loved ones, they are happy that they are no longer in the situation that they were in. And it's the same with our pets. They still are there with us. They're guiding us. They will actually give you that little nudge when it's time to find your next pet, and give you the take that one home. They need you. And 9 times out of 10, that one's nothing like them. And it's a whole nother learning experience for you. So yeah, they are never upset about that.
Kate on YouTube says, ask her about the dental assistant.
Oh. Okay, so Kate and I go to this dentist, and every single time, and here's a good story of ethics for you, okay? So every single time I go and I get my teeth cleaned, the dental hygienist that is working on me, she has a white boxer with her, and that boxer is jumping up and down, mom, 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 mom. And I want to so bad. This has been going on now for at least 4 years, that if every time I go and see this dental assistant, her dog's with her. And I am not going to do a grocery store drive-by reading to somebody, because it's just not right. So I have never said anything to her about her dog being there. But every time I come home, Kate's like, did you see your dog? I'm like, of course. Yep. He was there. So I don't know. One of these days, I've got to try to figure out how to bring it up to see if I can feel the waters out enough to see if she'd be open for something like that. Because that poor dog has been trying for years now.
Are you able to pick up like the pupper's name at all?
Yeah, Max.
Here's where a little white lie might come in handy. Be like, oh, thinking of adopting this puppers, he comes with the name Max, and just see if she will take that and kind of run with it for you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Maybe tell the universe that, you're not really looking for another dog named Max to adopt, but, sometimes the universe be like that.
Yeah. That's a really good idea. I should try that.
Or oh, my grandma had a dog named Max, and something, and see if she'll run with it.
Yeah. I need to. Every single time I come home, I'm just like, oh, that poor guy. And I'm sitting in that dental chair, just apologizing to him, saying, I'm so sorry, buddy. I can't tell her.
He's like, but you can see me, right? Like, say something.
Yes, big, cute, bouncy thing that he is.
Probably really pretty being all white,
Yeah, he's all white. He's got a black nose. He's got it looks like he's got black eyeliner. He looks like a boxer or bulldog type dog. He's very cute.
Oh, he's a little goth puppers. Okay, got
it. Yeah.
So if any of our friends in the audience have questions for Chris about animal communication, how it works, how to do it, feel free to ask. Maria, did you have any other questions for Chris while we see if our friends have anything to ask?
It's funny that you brought up about the animals will give you the hint when the animal that passed will give you the hint when and lead you to the next one. I've had a few clients, and I know there was this one person. No, I don't want any more. I don't want any more. And I said, I'm describing what I'm seeing. I said, well, I see this, da da da, and it's not gonna be a boy. It's gonna be a girl. And then a few months later, she said, darn it, I went over to someone's, and I was like, is it a girl? She go, yep. And it's the cutest thing. So I do sense that too, that, you can be held like sticking to your guns. I'm not going to have another one. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to learn it again. And once you're led to this pet, all of that just comes back, all the joy, all the love. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I tell a lot of my clients that it may not be, and I usually get a sense of timing with it. If it's going to be like in the near future, if it's going to be a couple of years, I usually am able to kind of give them a little bit of a window. And I'm like, you're going to be driving down the road and all of a sudden you're going to be like, I need to stop at the shelter, or you're going to see this little dog in a parking lot and you're going to have to stop and help them, and it's going home with you. I feel like, no, I don't want one yet. I'm like, it's not really your choice.
What do they call for the cats? The like universal distribution system. Like the cats chose you, and that's how you get a cat.
Yeah.
Now, have you had anybody tell like their adoption story? As our friend Lisa from Development Circle, she calls it the gotcha day, the day that she adopts her animals. It's the gotcha day.
Gotcha day,
but, But like this perception where it's like the animal picked them ahead of time, and like they'll even see little. So before I got Sith, I kept seeing the butt end of a cat going around corners in my house and just running out. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, and I wasn't even leading up to that thinking of getting a cat, right? Because I had the schnauzers. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to. And I mean, for about 5-6 months, and I'm like, okay, fine. If I happen to find you, and then that turned into like, the cats over here aren't the right ones. The cats over here aren't the right ones. These ones aren't the right ones. And, I finally found him and almost passed him up, and, he corrected that real quick. But, has anybody had like a story like that where it's like they kept seeing, be it, in the imagination or literally almost like ghost forms of the soon to be animal, like around them?
I can't say that I've had ghost forms like that, but I have had people say that, they absolutely did not want a dog, and they ended up, in a parking lot somewhere and taking this dog and doing the due diligence and getting it scanned and saying, no, 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 no. And then, going to the shelter and them saying, we can't accept anything this day. So it's like they were forced to keep it, and it being one of the best animals that they've ever had. I've heard stories like that, and them just appearing, like I go out in my front yard and there's this, this tiny little kitten, and I wasn't looking for a kitten, and here's the kitten. One of our cats that we have right now, the last cats that we got, I was like, no, 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 I don't want any more cats. No more cats. No more cats. Because we do live out in the country, and there's predators around here that I get worried about with them. And I didn't want anything to happen to them. And Kate was driving to work, and she saw the sign for free kittens, and she really wanted another cat. So the next weekend, I'm like, okay, it was her birthday weekend. I'm like, okay, well, I'll cave. We drove down the road and there's no sign. So I had stopped over at the shelter, and there was a couple of cats at the shelter, and we got up the following weekend. We were going to go to the shelter that morning and look at this one cat. And we ended up taking the road which is way out of the way to where the shelter's at. And the sign was back up again. And I had been up and down that road 3 or 4 times that week and hadn't seen the sign. And that day the sign was back up. So we drove down this long, windy driveway, and they had one kitten left. And so we ended up taking that one kitten home. And the ironic thing about him is I know for a fact that cat is my pug Omar that I lost a few years ago.
Really?
I think Merlin is Omar. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why did Omar decide cat this time around?
I really believe that was the case because Omar had mobility problems. He was in a wheelchair.
Oh.
So he had his little wheels the last couple years before he passed. And being a cat, he can do anything he wants. He can go anywhere he wants. He can climb up on things. He's agile. He's not a pug that has kind of impaired breathing issues. And he's a little tiny guy. Like Omar was a pretty small pug, and Merlin is a really small cat. He didn't get very big. And I used to joke when Omar was younger, he used to get a hold of pins. And I would come home and he would have a pen that he was chewing on. And I would jokingly say he's writing his Dear Ma'am and Sir letters. So Merlin gets a hold of pens all the time. And I don't know where he gets them, and he carries them around. And I'm like, oh, Merlin's writing Omar's Dear Ma'am and Sir letters again.
He remembers the stash pile that he had from before, and he's pulling them out.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
He's like, there's one behind this couch. There's one behind this bookcase. There's one tucked under here.
Yeah. Yeah. And he'll steal them out of this little binder that I carry around all the time. He pulls them out of there all the time. It's like, yeah, I know he's Omar. In my heart of hearts, I know he's Omar.
So like the first time you guys saw him, did he literally be like, hi guys, it's me? Like, did he I look a little different, but I'm back.
He had the look of horror on his face because they had 3 really, really small kids, and these kids would drag him all over the place. He was the last kitten. They had barn cats, and he was the last kitten. He's just like, please get me away from these children.
Rescue me, anybody,
yes.
Somebody.
Yes, somebody help me, please.
And he's like, I can relax now. I'm back home. Where did I hide my pens?
Where did I put my pen stash?
So for anybody wanting to get started in communicating better with their pets, and like what's good starting points for home pet owners?
So definitely people who are a little bit more intuitive. If you're good at following your gut feelings about things, that's a good kind of starting point. Is to know yourself and your abilities, and to know what you can work on for yourself first. So working on like telepathy, learning about telepathy, and there's a lot of good books out there. Don't make me name one right now because I can't. But there's a lot of good information out there about telepathy and how that whole process works. And that I strongly feel is the basis of animal communication, is being able to tap into their minds and do it in such a manner that you have to gain their trust. They have to understand you're not going to hurt them, and that you're only doing it to help them, and building on it from there. If you have the ability to visualize, is great, and work on visualization exercises so you can plant those things that those messages you're trying to convey over to them. But I definitely telepathy first. there's a great series that's pretty popular right now on any kind of podcast platform you can find. It's called the Telepathy Tapes. And it's actually about autistic children, but they do have a segment in there in the beginning of the second season about animal communication and how telepathy works with animals, and it's really, really interesting and really spot on with how it works. So I would suggest it, and if you don't want to listen to the whole thing, just listen to. There's a section there about telepathy with horses and telepathy with animals, and it's really, really gives you some really good insight on it.
I'm sure everybody's going to be looking up that podcast now.
Yeah, it's it's going to get it's. I've heard that they're turning it into a movie. It's really kind of gotten extremely. It's amazing, like the things that these kids are these autistic kids are doing with communicating telepathically. It's mind blowing.
That's pretty awesome, especially for, some of the children who have a,
Mm-hmm.
hard time or inability to verbally,
Yeah.
Speak. That has to open up a whole new world for them to be able to communicate that way then and get across, what they're feeling and what they need.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then finding somebody to teach it to you is also a good thing to do too, just to help give you that reassurance and get some practice and get some examples of what works and what doesn't.
Okay. I know one of our questions is like, how do you think working with animals would help with our planet? And I feel kind of silly even asking, because it seems like it is so obvious that it's like that connection and understanding and empathy and love, is unless you have like a whole expanded answer.
So I think with our current climate, I think working with animals and learning how to communicate with them is going to be something to bring us as a species back to basics, back to what really matters, back to taking care of things. And it's not just animals, it's the plants. It's everything is such a delicate balance that I think people have taken for granted because it doesn't affect them. Well, it does, but you're not seeing the greater reasons of why it's impacting you. Think about, I could go off on a huge tangent about this, but I just saw this article the other day about these woolly, there was some kind of woolly bison. They were bison or, oh no, it was a rhino. They were woolly rhinos that came out of this iceberg that was defrosted. So if we're down to a melting point of being able to find creatures like that existed, thousands of years ago, we really need to think about what we're doing to the environment. And that it sounds like a stretch going from communicating with your family pet to saving the environment, but the core of it all is we need to get back to basics of taking care of. It doesn't matter if it's a two-legged or a four-legged or a plant or what kind of animal it is. We need to respect all of it and take care of all of it, and it's going to make us better in the long run. And all this fighting and misunderstandings and all of the crazy nonsense that people come up with to, argue over it needs to be simpler than that. Life needs to be simpler.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I like the message.
I agree.
All right. It's like last call for questions, guys. Animal communication, how to do it, what is it? We have the bus pulled up ready to run Chris over with your questions on this. But yeah, it's fun. like learning to somewhat, even in the very beginning of like feeling your animal and connecting with them. And when you realize like, oh shit, that really worked,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I feel like they almost calm down with you more, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They
You have almost
absolutely.
like that spirit animal feeling because you are so connected and there's that trust and that connection and, you know?
I would say this is, I've only been able to make this connection with another horse person. Um, but you can get so in tune with them that, horses are prey animals. So
Mhm.
they're constantly, they can see the only spots on a horse's body that they cannot see is the very top of their tail, where their tail meets the top of their rump, and the tip of their nose. They can see everything else around them.
Mm.
Um, because their eyes are set to be on the sides of their head. So they're so hypersensitive of what they can see, what they can feel, and they can feel like a tiny little fly land on them and immediately react to it. And I can sense things with my horses if I'm walking one of them and they're about to spook about something and jump. I feel that energy and sense it right before they do the actually spook.
Mm.
So being that in tune to your animal's energy to know and to anticipate when something's going to upset them, or if they're not feeling right, if they're not feeling well. Now, I am too close to my pets to actually get a lot of direct messages from them. A lot of the times with my personal animals, it's more of a sense of feeling the energy and feeling what's going on in their body, and how if they've got an ache or a pain or something's not digesting right. And that's where a lot of my feelings that I guess my vocabulary, my library has come from, with being able to do readings for people. But that whole that sense of just knowing what's gonna happen with them is, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's hard to interpret, like, give you a definition of what that feels like. It's almost like an electrical charge of some
Mhm.
sort. And I've only been able to kind of relate to another horse person that can feel, and I actually know people who work with horses are a lot more in tune with being able to communicate with animals than other people that work with animals. And I think it's just because their energy is so big. And
Mm.
you
Mhm.
and you you learn to feel and read that animal because they're huge. I mean, they can step on you and squish you and hurt you really, really easy if you don't anticipate and feel that energy. And you can have a conversation like this with the roughest cowboy from out in the middle of the Southwest, and they will agree with you and won't think it's woo woo. Versus you talk to a really strict dog trainer saying, "Oh no, your dog is feeling to me like," and they're like, "Oh." But horse people are a little different when it comes to that inner knowing of what's going on with your horse.
What
They
about
get
the
it.
Amish guy in the barn? The one sneaking treats at night to the horses, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. He I haven't had time, but I keep thinking about it. I'm like, you've got to go and sit out in that barn and try to talk to him. And I need to do it before the weather gets too cold, so I'm not all bundled up out there in my Carhartts freezing my butt off going, "Okay, Mr. Yoder."
Right. Like, "Can we have a conversation,
Yeah,
please? I'm
yeah,
freezing."
yeah, exactly, exactly. 'Cause this happened last week. I was out feeding, which I gotta go do here in a little while. Um, And I walked down that aisle that you saw in those pictures. I walked down the aisle over to the haystack, and I turned back around, looking back at where the camera is on the door, and my fly spray bottle was in the middle of the barn aisle. And I'm like, why are you throwing my fly spray at me?
Did he think you needed to use it? Like,
no, I didn't. I think it was just to get my attention. I heard you were talking about me.
Oh,
what I felt is I heard you were talking about me, and yes, I'm here.
like, good. Now we have questions for your belief system and the afterlife. Let's talk. and then watch him just turn around and walk away.
Right. I'm done with you now.
Like, well, that was fun. Good to know you. I'm out. You know, we're done here.
Yep. Yep. Oh goodness.
Well, since you have to go feed all of your critters outside, if we have any last minute questions, but thank you for joining and talking and telling some fun stories on animal communication.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Now, I believe you mentioned at one point that you were getting ready to start a podcast. Am I remembering that correctly?
So right now I do have a podcast. It's on A1R Radio. It's also on YouTube. It's Moonstruck TV. And it's just a little short 15-minute one on Thursday nights at 9:30. I do a reading and answer some questions. Like I said, it's real short and sweet, but eventually I want to expand on it after I get more in the groove of doing it. I just started it a couple weeks ago. So once I'm a little bit more, I have a little spider running across the floor. It's like, we're talking about critters. I'm going to come in. I have something to say. So yeah, I just started doing that a couple weeks ago. It's on Facebook, YouTube. I think they broadcast on Twitch too. And you can, any kind of podcast platform, you can listen to it as well.
So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you for an animal communication session, like how can they track you down?
You can find me on my website, which is Tarot and Lenormand by Chris.com. Or you can email me at mediumchrisclardy@gmail.com. Or you can find me on my Facebook page, which is Medium Chris Clardy.
And every now and then we get to have you in the store when both of our schedules line up.
Yeah.
Because the critter doesn't have to be physically in front of you. Doesn't have to be still currently on this planet. Can, you know.
No, all I need is a photo. And I don't have, if you don't have a photo, that's fine. I can do them without the photo, but it always helps having the photo. Most of the readings I do, there is no pet involved, no physical pet involved. It's usually photos. And I do offer, I can do Zoom readings, so I don't need to be even in your presence. We can set something up on Zoom. If you're out on the west side, I can choreograph with you and meet over at Goddess Elite. If you're over out on my side of town on the east side, I do things. I do in-person stuff at my house, and have a couple other places I can meet at as well. So, but Zoom readings are great. I love Zoom.
Business from the top up, pajamas from the bottom down.
Exactly.
You know, be comfy with your animal communication reading.
Exactly. So yeah, and this weekend on Saturday, I'm going to be at Taps and Tails in Tremont. They're having a Halloween party. I've never been there before. I'm very excited. It is a little bar, but they have a whole pet play area. I guess they do doggy daycare there. And they have a bar, an indoor and outdoor bar for you to sit at, and you can bring your pet. And if your pet plays nice with other other dogs, they can run around and play out in the. They have this. It looks like almost like an obstacle course area for them to play on. You do have to bring current shot records to bring your dog on premises, but they're welcome to come and play and interact and sit and have cocktails with you if that's what you want to do. So they're having a Halloween costume contest and stuff on Saturday. So it's sounding like it's going to be a lot of fun.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
I got the little like bat wings for Sith. I need to find where those are and torment him for a few minutes and make him wear them and post his picture.
Oh my gosh. My pugs raided the closet the other day. The closet in the living room, there's a pumpkin outfit, a dog pumpkin outfit. And she went and grabbed, I don't know how she managed to grab it, but she grabbed the little pumpkin outfit, went running through the living room with it. And I'm like, okay, Tilly, I guess we got to put the outfit. You're the only one that fits in it anymore. So everybody else is too big.
Pumpkin you shall be. That's so
Oh,
cute.
goodness. Yeah, she's so funny. She's a little mess.
Critters are so awesome.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Well, thanks for joining, Chris.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's always fun. Hopefully we get to snag you in the store again here soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we haven't gotten to hang out with you since last month at Wagner's. So
yeah,
we can get you in. But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys, hanging in for, animal communication with Chris. And we hope you can join us the next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.